The modern world is built on fragile balance. Power is distributed between nations, alliances, and military capabilities that act as a form of global deterrence. For decades, that balance has prevented a major war between nuclear powers. But every so often, a country appears on the geopolitical stage that forces the world to reconsider that balance. One such country is North Korea. It is one of the most isolated nations on Earth, yet it possesses nuclear weapons, long-range missiles, and one of the largest standing armies in the world. Its leader, Kim Jong Un, governs a state that has spent decades preparing for conflict while surviving under some of the most severe economic sanctions ever imposed. For years, North Korea has remained on the edge of global crises without fully stepping into them. But what would happen if that changed? What if North Korea decided that the moment had arrived to enter a much larger global conflict? The consequences could reshape the balance of power across Asia and possibly the world. To understand why this scenario worries military planners, we first need to understand how North Korea views its own survival. Unlike many countries, North Korea's political system is built around one overriding objective: regime survival. The government in Pyongyang has long believed that military strength is the only reliable protection against external threats. This philosophy is often described as Songan, or military-first policy. Under this strategy, the armed forces are placed at the center of national power. Economic development, diplomacy, and even domestic politics often take a secondary role compared to military capability. But the most important pillar of this strategy is nuclear deterrence. North Korean leadership has repeatedly argued that nuclear weapons guarantee the country's security. Many analysts say this belief is influenced by historical examples. Countries like Iraq and Libya once had governments that faced international pressure and military intervention. In North Korea's interpretation of those events, the lesson is simple. States without nuclear deterrence are more vulnerable to regime change. Whether that interpretation is accurate or not, it has shaped North Korea's strategy for decades, and it explains why Pyongyang has invested enormous resources into its missile and nuclear programs. Today, North Korea maintains one of the largest militaries in the world. Estimates suggest it has more than 1 million active soldiers. In addition, millions of reservists and paramilitary personnel can be mobilized if necessary. Much of the world's attention, however, focuses on North Korea's missile program. Over the past 2 decades, the country has conducted numerous tests of ballistic missiles designed to travel long distances. Some of these missiles are classified as intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. These weapons are theoretically capable of traveling thousands of kilometers and potentially reaching targets far beyond the Korean peninsula. North Korea has also tested submarine-launched ballistic missiles, which are designed to be fired from underwater platforms. This capability adds complexity to missile defense systems because launches from submarines can be harder to detect. In recent years, Pyongyang has also claimed progress in developing maneuverable and potentially hypersonic missile technologies. While analysts continue to debate the exact capabilities of these systems, the trend is clear. North Korea's missile technology has advanced significantly since the early 2000s. Estimates by defense experts suggest the country may possess between 30 and 60 nuclear warheads. Exact numbers remain uncertain. Most analysts agree that North Korea has crossed the threshold of being a nuclear-armed state. Despite this military strength, North Korea does not frequently engage in direct large-scale conflict. Instead, its strategy often revolves around deterrence and strategic signaling. But under certain conditions, analysts say Pyongyang could see advantages in becoming more involved in global tensions. One possible factor is geopolitical alignment. In recent years, North Korea has strengthened diplomatic and economic contacts with countries such as Russia and China. Some reports and intelligence assessments suggest that cooperation between these countries has increased in certain areas, including technology and trade. While the exact nature of these relationships is complex, geopolitical competition between major powers can sometimes create opportunities for smaller states to increase their strategic leverage. Another factor is economic pressure. North Korea has been under international sanctions for many years. These sanctions restrict trade, financial activity, and access to certain technologies. During times of global instability, Pyongyang may attempt to use its military capabilities as a bargaining tool in negotiations. Strategic timing has always been part of North Korea's approach. Moments of international crisis can sometimes give smaller states greater influence in global politics. If North Korea were ever to enter a major conflict, the immediate impact would be felt across Northeast Asia. The closest and most vulnerable country is South Korea, the South Korean capital. Seoul lies relatively close to the border with North Korea. Large numbers of artillery systems are positioned north of the demilitarized zone. These weapons alone could cause significant damage in the early stages of a conflict. Another country directly affected would be Japan. North Korean missiles have flown over Japanese territory during previous tests. Major Japanese cities such as Tokyo fall within range of several North Korean missile systems. The presence of United States military bases in the region further complicates the situation. Key locations such as Okinawa and Guam host important American military facilities. Any attack involving these bases could trigger a broader military response, and that brings us to the role of the United States. The United States maintains a significant military presence in the Pacific region. Thousands of American troops are stationed in South Korea. Naval fleets operate across the Pacific Ocean. Advanced missile defense systems are deployed to protect Allied territories. In the event of a major escalation involving North Korea, the United States would almost certainly become involved. Possible responses could include the deployment of additional air and naval forces, enhanced missile defense coverage, and increased intelligence and surveillance operations. However, modern conflicts rarely remain limited once multiple nuclear-armed states are involved. Even a conventional war on the Korean Peninsula could have far-reaching global consequences. The most serious concern in any scenario involving North Korea is the potential use of nuclear weapons. North Korea's official doctrine suggests that nuclear weapons serve primarily as a deterrent, but analysts warn that if the leadership believed the regime itself was facing collapse, the calculation could change. In that scenario, nuclear weapons might be viewed as a last resort. The consequences of such an escalation would extend far beyond the region. Even a limited nuclear exchange could have catastrophic humanitarian, economic, and environmental effects. In recent years, observers have been watching several developments closely. North Korea has increased the pace of missile testing. It has launched satellites designed to expand its reconnaissance capabilities, and its leadership has made several announcements about strengthening the country's nuclear doctrine. At the same time, diplomatic contacts between North Korea and other global powers continue to evolve. Some analysts believe Pyongyang is trying to achieve a specific long-term goal: recognition. Recognition as a permanent nuclear power whose security concerns must be taken seriously by the international community. Whether that goal will ever be accepted remains uncertain, but the strategy behind it is becoming increasingly clear. For now, North Korea remains outside most major global conflicts, yet its military capabilities, its strategic geography, and its nuclear arsenal ensures that it remains one of the most closely watched countries in the world. Any major shift in its policy could send shockwaves through the international system, because in a world already filled with rising tensions and competing powers, the entry of a nuclear-armed state into a larger conflict would change the strategic equation almost overnight. And that leaves one final question. If the next global crisis begins to unfold, will North Korea remain on the sidelines? Or will Kim Jong Un decide that the moment has come for his country to step directly onto the world's most dangerous stage? The answer to that question could shape the future of global security for decades to come.